Hey everybody, welcome to Gaming Golf for the second week of the PGA Tour playoffs. It is coming up on the BMW Championships right now. Here, I'm Jeff Erickson here with Jeff Ritter. It's the Double Barrel Jeff podcast. Here, Scott is tied up with work, so we're gonna have to carry some water. Last time we did this, though, we did all right, I think, Jeff.
We'll make it. There's plenty to discuss. We're getting down to the nitty gritty for the FedEx Cup season in golf. Ryder Cup spots are starting to become finalized, and it's fantasy football draft season. So we're going to close the show. I've got a fantasy football question for you. So a little something for everybody on today's show. Look forward to it.
Let's take a quick look back at last week's Northern Trust, which I think ended like 12 seconds ago. Tony Finau finally broke through after all that we were kind of joking around with that. We kind of dismissed him, and then he had an amazing weekend. Great closing day on Monday.
Yeah, he had almost become a punchline on the podcast, right? Where it's like, there's so many courses where you feel like his game travels and he could win. And I always, in these one and done pools that we do, I always use Tony Finau early in the year because I always feel like he's due for a win and he's going to play a course that sets up great for him. And it just, for 5 years, it didn't happen. And then yesterday, it finally clicks. Great Sunday rounds, shoots a 65. And then, Cam Smith just sort of laid down in the playoff by just snapping one in the water. But still, Finau, you got to feel great for him. He's really, all of my experiences with him are just like he's as nice of a guy as you could ever meet. Seems extremely well liked on tour. So popular win, both in the locker room and out.
Easy guy to root for sure. Very entertaining golfer, hits the ball really far, without the baggage that comes with price in there. So it was a lot of fun to see that happen. Jon Rahm he had a great tournament, just tailed off at the very end, but he's still the dominant golfer on tour.
Yes, he is. I don't know that he will be player of the year. I kind of feel like that's Morikawa's title to lose, but Rahm really is the top player in the world at the moment. He's playing like it. He played like it for 3.5 rounds at the Northern Trust. And I believe he's the top pick on DraftKings this week. And he is certainly, you wouldn't, he's earned it. This is his time. He's the guy you'd least want to face in a Ryder Cup match 1 month from now, I think, if you're a U.S. Ryder Cup member, and certainly the conversation this week that the BMW starts with him.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just jump right into it here with the BMW. First of all, it's a different golf course this year. They're playing in Maryland. What are your thoughts on the setup there? What do you think? What type of golfer should we be looking for here?
Yeah, unfamiliar, right? So this is a new one. I don't think the tour. It's been 14 years, I think, since any guys have played on this. Caves Valley Golf Club. I don't know much about it. I was just trying to read and scavenge for facts and figures because this is not one that I'm familiar with. And stock par 72, 4 par 5s. It's going to be muggy and 90 degrees in Baltimore, and it seems like guys, can let it rip. Not particularly large putting surfaces. So anytime you kind of have that set up, you start to think more about approaches to the green becoming significant. Those who can just hit it close will do better on unfamiliar putting surfaces than those who are farther away. So, if Scott Jenstad, our third member of the group, were here, all summer, that's like an auto push the button. That's a Colin Morikawa setup, right? If you can if you can minimize the effect of putting, that is the one weakness of his game. Whereas every other aspect of his game is like, top notch or possibly even leading the tour. This feels to me like a Morikawa setup. So even though we just talked up Rahm at the beginning, I look at the DraftKings prices, Rahm 11.7, Morikawa just hanging in there at 10,000. I'd start my build with Colin Morikawa this week.
Yeah, interesting. He is dealing with a little bit of a bulky back, and I wonder how much that played into him missing the cut by so much. That's the one hesitation I have with him.
Yeah.
I like Brooks at 10-2, to be honest. I thought he was going to make a charge at one point there, was kind of hovering like he was ready to pounce, and then it just didn't happen. But, he races his game usually at the right time. I like that price at that level there. We've got 7 golfers in the 5 digits again. Rahm at 11.7. That's you're paying the premium for him. You can be done. especially with a no-cut tournament, 75 golfers now, or 70 golfers now, you can probably find a way to make it work because, let's face it, the guys at the bottom, I mean, Hudson Swafford had a great tournament last week, for instance, there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's $6,000. You can find ways to make it work.
Yeah, for sure. You got 70 guys left in the field. All of them have accomplished a fair amount to still be standing. So there's really no dead weight in this field or in your daily fantasy games.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Let's look at the other guys in this tier. Jordan Spieth had a very interesting Monday. It was shades of Jordan from a year or 2 years ago. Didn't really see that one coming, but he kind of melted down a little bit there. Although I remember that happening at that course a few years ago, that he was good on Thursday, Friday, and then the weekend came and he just fell off.
Yeah, that was shades of like the roller coaster Spieth, like the bad roller coaster, the roller coaster that's careening off the tracks, where you just, it's just hitting it all over the map. So I don't put too much stock in it, like overall, but then at the same time, look at the tier he's in and the players around him. I agree with you, Brooks Koepka. I think Justin Thomas is another guy that's putting it back together again as the summer's gone along. Both of those guys are more interesting to me at that same price range than Jordan Spieth. You have to put a lot of stock in current form. If you're going to go off the top tier, I think you want to build the case up for that as opposed to picking holes in it. So, and that's a good call about the Morikawa injury as well. Like, course profile fits him so well, but you don't know. Maybe Koepka, maybe JT, maybe those are my guys for that tier.
Yeah, I can see that there. Let's move down to the second tier here, the 9,000s. There's some very interesting names here. I'll just go through it here. Tony Finau, 98. Louis Oosthuizen, 96. Cam Smith, 95. Rory, 94. Bryson, 93. Cantlay at 92. Victor Hovland, 91. And Daniel Berger at 9,000. What jumps off the page to you?
I'm still a little angry at seeing Victor Hovland off my fantasy team putting with a wedge for like the entire back nine at one point last weekend. It's just like, these are the big money events and your guy is in the field and he's snapped his putter. I think Finau's a wonderful story. Cam Smith is sort of a wild card to me. I mean, he's another guy that's come very close this summer, and it's just like, that's just such an agonizing way to lose. But I might go right between the two of them. I think if there's any justice in the golfing world, Louis Oosthuizen should get a win soon. And even if he's not winning, he just seems to be so close. So I think, rested, it's very tempting to just plug him right back in and just assume you're going to get another top five until he shows you otherwise. So I go Louis first off this tier. How about you?
From your lips to my fantasy team's lineup there, and my never-ending quest to get fifth place, maybe, or something like that. I think I'm right behind you in the standings, but Louis coming back from the neck. We'll see how that affects him a little bit there. I mean, Cam Smith played so brilliantly just to have a couple of wayward drives scuttled the whole thing. Early on, he put one in the water on Monday, and then of course, on the playoff hole. It's funny, we're mentioning him right after mentioning Louis. I mean, Louis did the same thing in a playoff hole too. The difference is Cam has won this year. What's funny is Cantlay is someone we kind of just overlooked a little bit. And I talked him up last week on the pod, said I was going to use him in one and done, and then I lied. I actually used DJ anyhow. And so I got my just desserts.
You used DJ. You betrayed our listeners by
I know. And I was punished for it. Actually, what happened is I neglected to switch over to Cantlay. I had originally put in DJ, said I was going to switch to Cantlay, and then I never did it because I was traveling last week. I had my own golf trip where I put a couple in the water too, so it's all fine. But I think that I like Cantlay at 92 a lot. I think he's another guy. I mean, he's never going to inspire the masses, but I think he's going to be pretty solid this week.
Yeah, it's a good pick. He's another one we just kind of like a little like Finau, where you always expect a little more than you're getting, it seems like. The statistical profile looks extremely strong. It looks like, and he, just like always has the trajectory, just seems to be there with him. He's had a nice year, but you just feel like, is this guy going to be one of those tier A superstars? Because the statistical profile and just the pedigree, you feel like that's where he's heading, but he's just not quite getting there yet. But win one of these playoff games, put yourself in line for $15 million. That will change your profile in a hurry.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely there. So, you break through and who knows. Now, so tell me about, about Finau himself. 98, coming off the win. Can a lot of times they say, okay, you can't ever go back to back. It's happened where, guys kind of get that run going through the playoffs before though. Could he have another top 5 in him here?
Why not? I mean, he's got the game. He's contended in all the majors. He's contended everywhere. 8 runner-ups, but in between victories. So sure, I don't think I would look for him to win this week. I don't think he would be someone on a straight betting ticket. But in a DFS lineup, why not? Why not ride that? Now that the monkey's off the back, right? And he's
Right.
free and loose, doesn't have to answer those questions anymore. I'd be tempted. It's tempting to just hop on and see if he's got another top 5 or top 3 in him.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. But it's intriguing and kind of this seems like a fun tier to invest in. I think that's the thing is that you have to make, if you want to get a couple of these guys, you probably aren't going out of the upper tier, but it seems to me like a good area to kind of fish in there and maybe get 2 or 3 of these guys and avoid the top tier, especially if you go like Cantlay, Hovland, and Cam Smith. I think you could afford something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Then you back it up with your kind of Hudson Swafford idea down at the bottom, or Max Homa. I think is interesting down at the bottom, and we'll get there in a second. But yeah, I think you can build almost any kind of roster you want this week because there is no, the cheapies, as you like to call them. These are still top 70 players in the FedEx Cup standings. So you can. There's a lot of possibilities and flexibility for how you play DFS this week.
Absolutely.
And it's a popular Scott Genstead move is to try to figure out who would be under rostered, who would be the unpopular guys off these tiers, and lean into that, to try to get an edge on the competition in these games. So
are we at the point where Bryson would be totally unpopular at 93?
Maybe he's certainly less popular now than he would have been at the start of the summer, right? I mean, it just his game kind of it flickers in and out like a TV antenna, right? Like the old rabbit ears TV, I think. Sometimes it's crystal clear and it's there, and then other times it's just kind of this staticky mess. And then the off-course stuff is kind of going along with it. So I don't know. I'm sort of off Bryson this week, but it does make him, I think, an interesting contradictory play. It's certainly a game you can win anywhere.
Yeah, he does. He does. Let's move on to the 8,000 tier, but before that, a quick note from our Blue Wire Network advertisers. All right, thank you for those for the support from Blue Wire. Jeff Erickson, Jeff Ritter here. Jeff from Morning Read and SI Golf. I'm here from RotoWire. We are talking about this week's BMW Championships. Moving on to the $8,000 tier. Still some good golfers here. Some guys that are on a roll. We got Scotty Scheffler at 89, Hideki at 88. Our guy, Abe Answer at 87. We got Corey Connors, who had a nice little run over the week, again, at 86. Webb Simpson, 85. Harris English, 84. Sam Burns, 83. Paul Casey, 82. Neiman, 81. And Sung Jae Im at 8,000. Jeff, who do you like in this tier?
I mean, this tier is just playing the hits from the summer. These guys were all priced in the 7,000s all summer long, and we were all over them. And now they're advancing in the FedEx Cup, and here they are. Corey Connors, extremely interesting. I mean, kind of drifted there a little bit through July, but ball striking is the name of his game. 8th place last week. Maybe he's finding it again. Abe Answer, not a particularly strong week last week, but he's got his first win. Could easily see him backing that up with the top 5 here and getting himself in that discussion for Eastlake and what he might do there. I also think I don't want to lose track of Scotty Scheffler. I was trying to dig this one out. I don't believe anyone has won their first career tour event during the FedEx playoffs since Camilo Villegas. And I was trying to dig. I think it's like 05 or something like that. Yeah. But Scheffler's one of those guys where it's like, man, we've talked about him all summer too, as like a guy right on the cusp of that breakthrough. This is a big opportunity for him. He's been playing well for a long time. Winning an event like this one would be, this would be big for him.
That's an amazing stat on so many different levels. For one, I didn't realize that the playoffs had been around that long. I felt like this is like a 10-year thing or something like that, but it's been around a lot longer than that. And two, just the length before you getting a first time winner on one of these. Guess it makes sense. I mean, you're really kind of you're playing against tougher fields, so harder to break through against players that are really battle hardened and all that. So I guess that makes sense. I guess I could see it that way, but. Connors was fourth in shots gained approach last week. He remains on his game, such that it is. I mean, he still is not a great putter, but man, you start hitting some good approaches and good things happen. And here you go again with him there. So I kind of like him at 86. Of course, Hideki's there. He's always there.
Yes, he's always there. Tempting. Why not? I mean, you feel like maybe he might do something here at the end of the year. Enough sort of as time has passed since the Masters has been playing better. Interesting. I don't know. I still like Connors. I think Connors is probably my favorite off this tier this week. And certainly I would never betray Abe Answer after coming this far with him all summer.
Never.
And hitting his driving range here in San Antonio recently. I'm supporting his
I like that you
adventures.
I like that you talk it up every single week. The driving range there. You're very loyal.
Not a sponsor of the podcast, although it should be at this point. It's getting a fair amount of run. But no, I probably, and Webb Simpson also, it's another one that you feel like ball striking. Maybe this would be a week for him as well. But I'll go Connors off this tier. But man, you could easily pluck 3 or 4 guys off the 8,000s for your DFS lineups this week. No question.
For sure. So I think that'll be a lot of fun there. So we'll see if one of these guys breaks out. You're going to have to kind of shop in this tier at least for one of the guys. I think I kind of feel like you're not going to be able to pull that off without getting at least one guy in this tier. So I think it's a matter of maybe 2, depending on what to do. But it's so tempting. That's the thing with the smaller fields is everybody looks great. It's like you want to get. You go to Baskin Robbins, you want to get all 30 plus flavors. But there you go. It's kind of tough. Let's move on to the $7,000 tier. This for once, it's not too copious to mention everybody. We're going to go through it real quick. Shane Lowry's at 7,900. He had a really good week last week. Jason Kokrak 78. Russell Henley 78. Keegan Bradley 77. Alex Noren we saw a lot of on Monday at 77. Sergio Garcia, we did not see a lot of over the weekend, 76. Kevin Na, 76. Cameron Tringali, 75. Van Rooyen, 75. Horschel, 74. Varner, 74. Harmon, 73. Champ, 73. Streelman and Kisner at 72. Vegas, Siwoo Kim at 71. And then at 7,000, your guy, Charlie Hoffman and Maverick McNeely. What's your observation from this tier, Jeff?
Again, I mean, what a tier, right? I mean, there's big names all over the place. I mean, I start at the top, Shane Lowry. I like his pedigree of just being generally a big game hunter. I like that he shot a 62 at Liberty National. But he's feeling pretty good about himself coming into this week. Finished 11th overall for the event. I think Lowry is very tempting at that price. I also like Keegan Bradley. Ball striking is kind of the name of his game as well. I think he also finished 11th at Liberty National. So putting is his, you find those guys where putting is the weakness, but everything else is clicking. I think that's tempting on this type of course profile. Again, it's kind of a mystery. We don't know, but you just kind of look at the stats and smallish greens, unfamiliar greens for the field. Maybe that minimizes the putting advantage. So maybe that's Keegan Bradley music I hear playing in the background. We'll see. Right. But those 2 are tempting. Of course, I'm not going to go against the Hoff having a great year and kind of sitting on the bubble for Eastlake. I like grabbing at least one guy that's like right on that, like right around 30th. That's going to be scoreboard watching all weekend and just needs it, And so I think Hoffman's 29th right now in the FedEx. Played all right last week. Played 4 rounds, and so I'll stick him in a few lineups this week for sure.
What music would Keegan Bradley listen to if they were playing his music there? I don't know. And would it be fight music
from Boston? Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe Boston.
Maybe
I don't know.
Maybe.
But fighting music though, definitely. Yeah. What do you think? What do you got out of this year?
So I think Kevin Na might be sneaky good here. I think he's going to be one of those guys that, it's Kevin Na, whatever. Move right past him, move on. I think there's good form there. Finished top, played well on Monday, finished in the top 10 last week. Kind of a guy that, is not a big hitter, played well at the Wyndham the week before that, played well at the John Deere Classic. But, I think this is a guy that's kind of rounding into pretty good form. I think he's a sneaky good guy to have at 7,600 this week.
I like it. Fun to root for. Remember when Kevin Na was like one of the least fun players to root for on tour? It was always like just the slow play and kind of the mental, you could just like the pain and anguish like watch him. And he's really he did a great job kind of like opening himself up to the press and letting people kind of just see who he really is. And now I find him a very enjoyable player to pull for. And he's playing well right now. It's a good pick. So it's always fun at this time of year. Might as well, it's fun to root for someone that you like watching. And Nas, for me, is one of those guys. So that's a good pick.
Yeah. So he'll be on my lineups for sure this week. And I don't think I'm not very good at estimating usage. I'm not the whisperer like Scott is here. So I won't guess completely, but I think he's going to be someone that might not be extremely high owned. So we'll see about that. Let's move on to the cheapies. Who are your bargain basement specials, Jeff? Who do you like to slide in here as guys to allow you to afford that 5-digit guy at the top?
So I've had Keith Mitchell on my team this year, my fantasy team, and he's really like an all or nothing guy. And last week he had it going unexpectedly. I think I had 6 or 7 guys going. We start 5 in our fantasy league. I benched him, and I regret it. I will not bench him this week. Very possible just the flicker goes right out, but he's got a big game, power game. It really, when it's on, he can play with anybody. I think he's tempting, and I think Max Homa is tempting at 6,400. I am not sure. I see Phil Mickelson sitting there. I want to believe, but I think I'm just going to stay away on a hot 90-degree Maryland weekend. And I think I'm gonna stay away from Phil. But I think Mitchell and Homa for me are my 2 guys in the 6,000 range. What about you?
I like that. Mitchell came up big at the end. Made a couple of big putts to get in under the number there. To make the cut for this tournament. So I was pretty impressed with that. I dismissed Swafford last week. I had a chance to pick him up in our league, and I was like, he just was doing well in alternate events. That's how he got so high on the money list and the points list. But then he came up big last week. Recent form was pretty horrible before that, so I'm probably more inclined to dismiss him again. But at 6,000, I mean, it does solve a lot of problems there if you need that cheapie guy. Other one I like is Emiliano Grillo at 6,500. I know that he had a pretty long miscut streak for a while. Then did well at the Open Championship. Has done a whole lot since. I've just got a feeling about him, Jeff. This is all just seat of the pants, non-statistically based, not recent form based, not really smart, if you will. It's a feeling.
The gut. I mean, sometimes you just can't, when your gut pulls you a direction, you just got to lean into it and just spend the.
This is where Scott pulls out all the reasons why I'm wrong and mocks me endlessly the next week. But then again, it's my last guy on my roster too.
With data, and like he'll just like set up that statistical profile for you that tells you exactly why your gut is all wrong, and then your gut gets all tied up in knots. But I don't know. I like it. I like it. I mean, and like I said, no one at the bottom of this field is bad. There's no one. There's really no bad picks this week. It's really just how do you want to build a lineup. So that's what makes DFS particularly fun. I think for this one is just that you can get creative.
That's right. That's right.
You can talk almost anybody who's left. You can talk almost all of them up if you want to, because they've all done something this year.
Yeah, that's right. Let's quickly shift over to the betting sheet real quick. Yeah. Any hot tips for the bettors out there that you got?
I was just trying to golf odds. It looks like it's down. So I'm in the DraftKings casino now. I think as we've talked about, I think Keegan Bradley at 70-1 is very interesting. I think Shane Lowry 45-1 is interesting. And then just because I found the stat, and since it hasn't been done since Vegas, Scotty Scheffler maybe for that first career tour win at 30-1. What is
Not bad.
Rahm? I think I'm at Rahm 5.5 to 1. Wow. No, I'm not going to I wouldn't do that. But I think the other guys, I still like playing it around in that kind of mid-tier 30, 40, 50 to 1 and get some value. So I'll go Keegan 70 to 1, Lowry 45, Scheffler 30.
All right. Very good. I got a few out there. I think we mentioned you were ticked off at Victor Hovland, but he was contending until he just blew up on one hole and then, snapped his putter and all that sort of stuff. But I kind of go back to the well at 33 to 1. I think that's a pretty reasonable price for him. I like Brooks at 25. You're getting the same price on Brooks that you're getting on Bryson, which is kind of funny, and Cantlay and Finau and Cam Smith. I think Brooks is the most fearsome of those guys that are more likely to, close out when they're doing well. Want to go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, that's a great point. I mean, who do you, if he's there on Sunday, who scares you? I mean, you got to feel good about Koepka as any of the guys around him. You're getting 25 to 1 odds. Right.
Going for some bombs, Sean Anna at 66 to 1. I like that. Getting that on BetMGM. I kind of like Harold Varner a little bit at 100 to 1. I think that, you're talking about just a bomb, just trying to, throw that out there just a little bit there. And your guy, Max Homa, is 125 to 1. So these are some of the options there. I'm gonna just caveat here. I'm in California. I can't bet online. I don't have any skin in the game when it comes to the bets. So that's why you usually don't hear me offering up betting odds on my betting sheet. So these are just some that I'm throwing out there that seem interesting to me. Your mileage may vary as far as that goes. Go ahead. You were going to say something. Sorry.
Texas is in the same situation there. If we met up in Colorado, we could have a lot of fun playing with some of this stuff. But
frankly, it's surprising that California is in that boat, but it's just entrenched interests everywhere. So it's going to be a while till we get legal sports betting online. We can always drive to Vegas. That's the thing, the good aspect of that there. All right. Yeah. How about one and done before we get to your fantasy football question of the week?
Yeah, one and done. It's easy for me. I don't know. I mean, there's probably this is like, why am I in 39th place out of 43 entries in our one and done pool? I haven't used Jon Rahm yet, the number 1 player in the world. So I'm going to go ahead and fire it up. I don't like the odds of winning the tournament on him, 5.5 to 1. I hate that as a straight ticket, but I'll take him in the one and done.
All right.
Got to use him sometime. So it's Rahm for me.
Never tell me the odds. All right. I'm going to go Cantlay because I lied and didn't use him last week. So I've already penciled it in. I've actually clicked it in. I have Louis left, but I kind of want to see how he looks after taking a couple of weeks off with the neck. That kind of concerns me just a little bit there. So see if that is, just like Clayton Kershaw, they said, oh, he's going to be day-to-day with the forearm, and now he's on the 60-day IL. Sometimes it is something, even though we suspect it's just a ruse to have a couple of weeks off. I think it's something worth watching a little bit. So I'm going to hold off on Louis and use him next week because he's certain to go through next week. So I'll use Cantlay this week. On to our fantasy football question.
Yeah, it's been how many fantasy football podcasts or Sirius XM shows have you hosted in the last 24 hours? First of all, because I just want people to understand you are a fountain of knowledge in this area. So I'm getting like, you should charge a rate really for the consulting fee that I'm gonna.
If we expanded to like 30 hours, 2 XM shows and 1 podcast. Plus I did the RotoWire Stake League auction just now, right before our golf podcast.
Drafts, so 3 shows plus your own drafts. So, so here's where I am now. I am on the clock. I'm in the, what is essentially the 3rd round of a draft. It's a 2-player keeper league. So 24 guys are off the board. I traded up this year. I traded Saquon Barkley for draft position. So I've made 1 selection in the 3rd round already. I took Najee Harris, who was available as the 2nd pick overall, not a keeper. So he was there. And I'm up again with the 5th pick in the 3rd round. So I've got my 2 keepers are McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill. It's a good start.
Yes.
Got a really good start to the team. And I just drafted Najee Harris. So I'm torn between, I feel like because I've traded up, I'm like ahead of the curve now in the draft. I feel great about the players I have. I'm tempted to try a glamour quarterback or glamour tight end, which I usually don't do those strategies, but I feel like I've got the best anchor you can have in running back. I've got a great anchor in wide receiver. I've got Najee as the second running back. So I'm tempted. Josh Allen is sitting there. Mahomes and Lamar Jackson were keeper players. So I've got Josh Allen is there. Or Darren Waller or Kittle are there at tight end. Or I got all the receivers you would expect for
like. Well, tell me the receivers because I was about to tell you receivers.
Everybody,
so tell me the receiver.
Everybody below Metcalf. Basically, the Metcalf was taken, so it's like McLaurin, Keegan Allen, the Cowboys guys, the Buccaneers guys. Those guys are all available.
How about
and it's a three? You start 3 receivers in a flex.
Is AJ Brown available?
Hopkins? No.
AJ Brown and Hopkins.
I would have. AJ Brown would have tempted. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I'd still go with one of the receivers.
And it's also a 6 point per touchdown league and 1 point for 20 yards passing. So I'm usually not a glamour quarterback guy at all, but you also kind of want to value him 25% more because of the 6 points per touchdown and 1 point for 20 yards passing. So I'm tempted. This Josh Allen thing is tempting me to break my normal patterns because normally I would probably take a receiver and start two great running backs, 2 great receivers, and the rest of it after this 2 rounds is an auction, so I can fill up the holes from there. But Josh Allen is tempting, and so is Darren Waller. To just plug in a glamour tight end as well, have an advantage there. So that's where I am.
Personally, I would resist that temptation and go with another wide receiver. That's just, especially you start 3 and presumably a flex also. I think you can make the case for the tight end, less so the quarterback, because even though it's 6 points for a passing touchdown, it's for all the quarterbacks. So you only start one quarterback. I think that's the big thing too. My preference would be the receiver. I can see the case for the tight end. I would discourage you from going with Allen there.
Interesting. Okay. So my receivers, I would be between McLaurin or CeeDee Lamb. I know CeeDee has COVID, but hopefully that's cleared up by then. I don't know. But those would be the 2 receivers that I would be sitting on. I like them both a lot this year. And I was thinking it's until Josh Allen just slipped to me. That was going to be my plan, was to take one of those guys. So I may reassess.
So I always reframe this in the form of, just if I were drafting in a straight up, redraft, who would I take first? It'd be McLaurin over all of those guys.
Yeah, maybe. It's also a keeper league, I guess I should say. So if you can catch that ascending player they're both ascending, but I feel like CeeDee Lamb has potential to be like on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
It sounds like you really want to take CeeDee Lamb instead.
Yeah, I gotta watch their stupid games. I'm in Texas. I don't like the Cowboys, but I'm gonna be stuck watching all of them because of local TV deals too. So I also that's often a tiebreaker decision for me, is what am I going to have to watch on Sundays? And I want to make sure I've got a reason to sit down and watch the local team. So that's a tiebreaker for me. For better,
as long as the Houston Texans aren't your local team, you're probably okay.
No, it's all the Cowboys games here. So, all right. Well, thank you. That's I'm just about to hit the button on Josh Allen, but I'm gonna pause a beat once we get off the air here and think about this some more. So I appreciate the advice.
And next week you'll tell us what you did, and you'll tell us, I didn't listen to you at all, and I went this way. I went with Josh.
Well, I'm gonna take it to heart. I mean, it's a consult. I appreciate the consulting role on this team. I mean, last year I had McCaffrey and Saquon, the top 2 players in fantasy, and I finished 11th. So clearly, you can think you've got it nailed in the draft, and you just never know. So
indeed.
Yeah. All right. On to the BMW, on to the fantasy football season.
Indeed. Hey guys, we've got a YouTube channel now. If you search the RotoWire Golf YouTube channel, you can find us. We would really like to get you guys to subscribe to the channel. Start watching. That way you'll get notifications anytime we post a new video. Hopefully that way you can always check in on us. If you missed the live broadcast, it'll be right there for you. So please subscribe to that. Please, as always, if you just listen to the podcast, subscribe, rate, and review that as well. We do appreciate you guys listening to Gaming Golf. Jeff and I thank you, and we'll be back again next week. Take care.